Welcome to everybody. And our first presenter this morning is Carolyn Webb, who's going to have an interactive session with you guys. So Carolyn, I'll leave it for you to introduce yourself further and talk about what you're planning on doing with us. Thank you.
Great. Just for context, I'm just curious if everyone could quickly introduce yourself either in the chat or in person. Just are folks mostly educators or with organizations? Just be great to know who else is here.
Well, Caroline, I can start. I work in education. I'm not an educator. I look after our wellness project, which nutrition is part of with our school division up north here with High Prairie School Division.
Great. Thanks a lot. And I see other folks are letting me know in the chat box, so that's great. Thank you. It sounds as though people are from across a range of different locations in that. I'll just say I'm Carolyn, as Wanda said. I'm joining you from Ottawa, Ontario, and I wear two national hats, so I'll be speaking from both of those. Although I'm kind of based in an Ontario-based organization called Sustain Ontario. But I both support coordination and facilitation with the Coalition for Healthy School Food. And that organization, we're working towards a national fund commitment with Wanda. Wanda's on the steering committee for funding for school food programs. And I also do a lot of work with Farm to Cafeteria Canada, which has given $10,000 grants to a number of schools across the country for food service that integrates kind of growing and cooking and bringing a more food system approach to the food served. And we've just launched a school food map, and so I'll walk everybody through that near the end of our call. First of all, I'll just give a really quick update. Although Wanda, I don't know if Wanda can hear me. Should I give a quick update on what's happening at the national level, or have you kept everybody in the loop? Yeah, I should. Okay, I'll just do really quickly. Yeah, we've been having some really great conversations with the two cabinet ministers whose mandate letters include a national school food program. And as many of you know, the Canadian Liberal government, the Liberal Party of Canada, had committed to give $1 billion over 5 years for school food programs. And so we've been in a lot of good discussions with the folks. They're aiming for a March 2023 budget allocation. We're all working hard for that. And there are national consultations happening right now, and a survey will be coming out very soon so that anybody who wants to can voice their perspectives around this should roll out. And for those of you who are familiar with the Coalition's 8 guiding principles, those have really been a part of shaping a lot of the consultation documents. And so we're feeling like there is a strong commitment from the feds towards universality, healthy food, trying to figure out how the food guide can be implemented, and just it really resonates with a lot of the values that we've been putting forward. So we're quite keen and looking forward to the next steps. So I'm here today really to talk about kind of some of the visioning pieces and to bring up the Sustainable Development Goals. Now I'm wondering if folks know the UN Sustainable Development Goals. Are people pretty familiar with them? Or yeah, I see some nods. So yeah, I mean, just as a little bit of a background, in 2015, Canada signed on to these 17 Sustainable Development Goals. And they're binding, although I'm not sure exactly what that means, because often we don't achieve binding commitments. And the goal is to achieve these some progress by 2030. And it's kind of a roadmap for different countries. And we've been excited about the Sustainable Development Goals because we're looking at them as a way to both inform our vision around school food programs. They integrate a lot of sustainable development concepts, economy, zero poverty, and other ideas. And so we're thinking, how, if we apply those approaches and lenses to the development of a school food program, how could we better inform our work? And also, how can we tell the federal government that, if they can advance a really strong school food program, they can advance their sustainable development commitments. And so I'd love to just have a bit of a visionary conversation today on how those SDGs can inform our school food program for in our country as it really, cross fingers, moves forward. But like I said, we're seeing all the good signals that it will be funded, and more funding and support will be offered at the federal level. So I'm going to put a board into the chat, and it's called Mural. I don't know if folks are familiar with Mural, but I will walk you through it. So this is a tool that we've been using in different conversations to just get hands-on participation around these conversations. And so I'm going to share my screen right now because Wanda's given me that permission. And you'll see that when you go to that link, and I see a number of you are now in there, which is great, you'll kind of see the whole board. And hopefully you can see my screen here. At the bottom right, you have this navigation window, and you can click on different parts of it, although it looks like it's giving me the whole picture right now. For my computer, if I go control and use my track bar or my scrolly thing on my mouse, I can go in, and if I push this button, it toggles between move mode, where I can move things around the whole thing. And then if I click on it again, I can double click and add sticky notes, or I can move these around. And I'm going to ask you in a moment to start moving these dots around. So on your screen, you're probably seeing this. If you go in closely, you'll see what the, I've put 16 of the 17 Sustainable Development Goals. And then on the right here, there's a diagram of how we're seeing that the Sustainable Development Goals can be informed, or how a school food program can be informed by the Sustainable Development Goals and vice versa. And so what I'd love to hear from folks is kind of, when you think of your ideal school food program, you know, which of the Sustainable Development Goals are really ones that you'd like to see move forward? I know we want them all to move forward, but we can only have conversations about so many today and really push at some things. And so, you know, if we look at them, there's poverty in all its forms. I'm there. End poverty in all its forms everywhere. To end hunger and achieve food security and improve nutrition and promote sustainable agriculture. To ensure healthy lives and promote well-being for all at all ages. To ensure inclusive and equitable quality education and promote lifelong learning. So I'm wondering if folks could kind of look at them all and just take a couple of minutes. And I'd love for you to find the dots, any dots. There's some on the top, there's some on the right, there's some all over the place, and just drag 4 dots to these boxes beside the 4 that really speak to you the most, and ones you'd like to talk more about and that you'd really like to see a school food program advance. So I'm going to stop the share now and just let all of you do a little bit of that work. And let me know if you're having any issues with the mural board, and you can send me either post a note in the chat about which ones you'd like to see. Yeah, which ones, and I can move some dots there, or you can, yeah, just raise your question out loud if you'd like. And I'll put a note into the chat for the folks who have just joined us. My name is Carolyn, and I'm just leading a conversation about how the Sustainable Development Goals connect to school food programs and how we can use them to inform kind of our vision and what we're advocating for. I'm seeing some around end hunger and achieve food security and improve nutrition and promote sustainable agriculture. Hey, Wanda.
Carolyn, did you say how many? I missed what it is.
4 each would be great. Thanks. And I should add, I have children at home as well. Mine are sniffly and in the background making noise. Number of dots around ensure inclusive and equitable quality education and lifelong learning opportunities for all. So for those of you who have just joined us, we're going into that mural board and taking sticky notes, or the little dots, and putting them next to the Sustainable Development Goals that we really would like to see a school food program advance and that we can talk more about today. We're doing this in different provinces across the country to try to just gather support and language and ideas for how we advocate to the government. I'll give just another 30 seconds maybe, and folks can keep putting the dots there, but we can just start having a conversation soon. Feel free to put any questions you have or comments in the chat as well as we go on. Okay, this is great. So while folks put a few more dots down, it's great to see some trends emerging in terms of that. I see quite a number of dots in the ensure inclusive and equitable quality education and promote lifelong learning opportunities for all. And then in the promote sustained, inclusive and sustainable economic growth, full and productive employment and decent work for all. So I think we'll take a bit of time to talk about both of those points. And I'm just going to take some time and write some stickies while everybody's talking. So I'm wondering if maybe folks could share, what do you think it could look like to integrate the sustainable development goal into an ideal school food program for Canada? And you're welcome to add some stickies if you want, or we can just speak to it and have a good conversation. Yeah, wondering if we were to include, to integrate that sustainable development goal as much as we could into a kind of a visionary school food program, what would that look like? You can either put notes in the chat or put up your hand or just speak to it or include your own stickies in the Miro board. I guess that one's really about promoting learning and learning opportunities. And yeah, how might that look on the ground?
I'll jump in. I'm going to preface this. I'm extremely ambitious with a lot of vision.
Wonderful.
So apologies. But start big, we'll get small. I love always thinking of our school systems as the solution. And sorry, when I say that, the fact that there's an institution that collects these uninfluenced, imaginative, innovative minds that really do have some of the best answers, some of the DEI answers we really should be working with. So I almost see it as creating these social enterprises. If you can create some sort of circular economy food system, education system, and have the opportunity for it to be a bit more of a business or, and not necessarily, I'm not a fan of the business, but working in reciprocity with their community through food system and contributing to their food system in a way that they see fit through education and that also economy learning of exchange, and maybe come from it hopefully in a place of reciprocity with way more in there. And but yeah, looking at actual square footage of land given to different ages with set curriculum of, you know, built in of, is it the seed planting and that stuff, or is it more math and measurements, or is it now exchange and inflation, or whatever that stuff looks like. But we already live in the model, so why not give the model to the innovative minds, the 7 generations to come, and see what they can come up with, and also just that powerful exchange within their communities and seeing the interactions. Because, you know, sorry, just also a little full disclosure, Bow Valley Food Alliance has very little relations with our school systems and schools. So yeah, just giving other opportunities to engage with the education systems in your communities and the different generations in your communities. Okay, that's my big dream.
Thanks, Michelle. Yeah, I'm really hearing the get students engaged in the social enterprise work and like developing hands-on. I think what you're saying is like the hands-on education and food literacy and food skills work, and give youth the opportunity to grow, to harvest, to cook, to do all that, and maybe even, you know, expand that into a small business kind of idea and really get those skills. So yeah, that's really exciting and really speaks to that hands-on nature of it. I'm taking notes. I've made a little section below where I'm taking some notes. So thank you. Any other comments there?
Well, I was going to say, with Kevin's program and RDN, Rural Development Networks program, that what we need to do is have mentorship of more programs that want to use some of the things that maybe Kevin is using, or other programs that and so it's connections. We need to connect. Colin's got some amazing programs going with some of his schools. Well, other schools, if they found out about it, would be like, hey, we could do that. But it's the connection, so that Kevin knows about Colin, and that we can all like keep it rolling, and don't let it stall or just stay in one little area of what's happening across the province.
Any other thoughts? What that inclusive and equitable quality education could look like, and lifelong opportunities. Again, feel free to put it in the chat if there's something else that you want to say but don't want to say that loud necessarily, or if your mic isn't working. We can go to the next one. The promoting sustained, inclusive, and sustainable economic growth, full and productive employment, and decent work for all. Would anybody like to speak to what their vision might be, and whether that's, you know, broader local economic growth? Is that kind of jobs for food service workers, or, you know, food providers? Is it, yeah, just curious what your visions are there and what you think might be possible.
I think one thing that hits me on that is the idea that I don't know, like when I went to school, is like, you have to go into like sciences, your math, you have to go to university. That's the only way you're going to get a good job and stuff like that. It's the only way you're going to be useful in society. And just getting rid of that. I know like there's maybe not as much of it. Maybe it's because I was from a small town. There wasn't a lot of opportunities in trades and things like that. But just letting students know that this is like being a chef, working in the food industry and stuff like that. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. Like, you can still make money, you can still have a great life and stuff like that. You are still providing a lot for society. So it's just that whole kind of like idea around what you should be taking in school and what is important for society and stuff like that. And just getting away from, you have to go to university, you have to get a 4-year degree in order to be someone who's going to contribute to society. So yeah, I don't like destigmatizing the trades in a way.
So much, yeah, and promote that there are good jobs in food service, and that it's, yeah, thank you, great comment.
I think in at least in our area, you know, destigmatizing the trades has been a fairly lengthy kind of process that we've been really intentional about. But when it comes to food services, it tends to be another matter altogether. And there's a huge deficit in learning and even awareness of possibilities. And it's only when we start engaging the kids and getting the kids involved in that process in terms of our school lunches and things like that, that opportunities and start to just blossom. And so it's it starts with just giving kids the opportunity to see different ways of being and doing. So
Some really seeing links now between this issue and the one before of the education and lifelong learning opportunities and getting them engaged in the growing and the harvesting and cooking and all that, and then pointing to, you know, career opportunities there. Any other comments about economic growth, productive employment, decent work for everybody?
I'd love to jump in on this one. I heard about different communities hiring compost experts. And so just to kind of give a little bit more weight to those undesirable jobs, I recently heard that of the top 10 worst jobs, and I don't know what defines worst, but worst jobs in Canada, 8 of them are in the food system. And it wasn't, I didn't get where exactly, but to give these types of stats, I do remember growing up, and forgive me if this has any triggers, but hearing about dentists and how that was didn't lead to a lot of good mental health long term, and different jobs having different connotations. And so why not addressing these, whether it's undesirable or just a current state of economy, and problem solve with them? Because even here, and the other one too, I'd say, is as funding starts to come through, if you have these roles within your systems, school systems, or you're hiring contractors, to make sure you are to paying those fair wages, having those diverse representations come in, and it's not just a behind the scenes. If there is a request for a story to be shared, that's something I've learned through navigating the food system work is relationships, and really highlighting that that's what this is. And then if someone wants to tell a story, that's their story to tell, and to kind of help those platforms. So whether it's, you know, a young mind influenced by something and just wants to share, or someone in the system who wants to tell them, you know, how that, I don't know, food day got there, how that lunch was created that day, or something like that. So yeah, I really like highlighting those jobs and maybe some of the stigma, but also looking at communities. And so I'm in Treaty 7 territory, so colonial name Banff, Lake Louise, Canmore, Bow Valley here. And we have a lot of volunteer food programs. And we have a lot of help wanted signs for the same job. So just current state of labor and community need of these food preparations, and where's the real value in that, and understanding that connection to your food before you eat it, and what that feel is. So yeah, that's a lot to be said there, but yeah, just really highlighting some of those. Why are they not so desirable, and how do we get to influence that system?
Great point. Thank you so much. I see a few comments come in that I'm putting into the area as well. Yeah, not expect people to just volunteer and need them to be paid. And one of our points to the federal government is the federal funds need to be able to support paid jobs, not just the food, but also the folks who are going to be chopping up the vegetables and fruits to make sure that healthy, fresh food is in these programs and not just prepackaged food. Because to create the program that we want, we need staff and folks doing the work necessary.
I was just thinking, Carolyn, that you know, we started really heavily emphasizing the trades, you know, 15, 20 years ago, because we couldn't get tradespeople in our region. And now we're in a state where we're trying to offer food programs within our schools, and we can't get people to work those food service jobs. And so, you know, I think we're going to need to shift our focus a little bit in trying to educate and help kids understand and learn and develop skills and possibilities, so that they can eventually fill those roles in our communities, which is a huge problem. Might not be an issue down south, but in our northern communities, it's a real issue.
Yeah, well, and also make those jobs desirable and worth it. Yeah, if with okay pay, and also again trying to emphasize the value that they bring to our communities. So thank you.
I'm going to add one more just because it feels really punchy. To also make sure that there's lots of those relationships built and that it's not just one person feeding your school system or it's one company truck that's shipping things in, that we do start to make those small relationships to sustain our communities and not rely on that big system that could have it's not as sustainable as you supporting your local community, and define local as you will. I think that's the name, the relationship. The closer you know and feel the values of the person who's got that food relationship, then yeah, I think it's a scary thing to have multiple hands involved, but it's a truly necessary thing for a healthy, diverse, and sustainable system.
Yeah, so much comes down to relationships, eh? Did anyone else want to speak to that economic piece or even the education piece before? Or are there other points relating to other sustainable development goals and anything that really, you know, speaks to your vision of what these programs could achieve that you'd like to speak to? And it could be any of the sustainable development goals there.
I was going to say too, Carolyn, that this group really needs to follow what the Coalition for Healthy School Food is doing in Canada, because I think that things are going to move pretty quickly now because we're going into the spring budget when things are going to be announced. And so just to keep an eye on messages coming through about what's happening with Carolyn and Debbie, and as things move forward, it's going to be pretty pivotal. Because I really think that we need to make sure that all of the great programs that are going on right now are not sweat. You know, we need to defend the programs that we've got going right now that are so amazing, and make sure that the federal government, and I think they do. I think they realize that it's not a cookie cutter thing that they're going to implant into the country, that it will be working with partners, but we should really stay connected.
Yeah, absolutely. And thanks, Wanda. You're reminding me that there have been 2 broad virtual consultations that the government has held already. And I understand, and I wasn't at either. Debbie went on behalf of the Broad Coalition, although a lot of coalition members were there. But I understand food literacy came up a fair bit at one of them in terms of, you know, people saying it's not just about the food, it's the broader education. And I think that message is coming forward and being heard. So yeah, so we'll see how it's moving so fast. We'll see how it shapes up, and we'll be communicating all this as we go.
Well,
yep.
Well, I'd really like to thank you, Carolyn, for working us through that. I've recorded it, so I will be sharing with the broader group and perhaps get feedback from them too. And so, Carolyn, I don't know if you want to stay on for the second half.
Yeah, well, I have to present the school food map at some point too, but
oh, sorry.
That's okay. Should I do that now or after Kevin's presentation?
No, go ahead now and
okay.
I'll go to Kevin after. Thanks.
Okay, I also saw that Maria had a hand up.
Yeah, I just wanted to touch a little bit on the food literacy before we moved on, because so I work at the Calgary Food Bank, so that's why I'm here. And food literacy for us is obviously like a secondary challenge. The first challenge is just getting food to people and having enough food to get to people and meet demand. But food literacy is definitely a big part of the conversation that we have around our school programs and just our programs in general, because there's a lot of sort of concern around things like best before dates and expiration dates and food literacy and waste in that sense, and also just in using the contents that you would get, for example, for a Calgary Food Bank hamper, like how you're using the contents that you might be unfamiliar with and being sort of comfortable using those items or encountering things that you wouldn't encounter normally, and then preventing food waste. So you're ensuring that you're using those items, right? So we kind of see that as a constant challenge. And something that we'd love to see sort of, it does kind of start with sort of like your interactions with food as a child. So that's definitely something that we're seeing sort of on the tail end of sort of the food system as well.
Yeah, thanks so much for sharing that. Yeah, it's one of those things where if you have food but don't know how to make use of it, there's a piece missing, and yeah, I just really appreciate that comment there of it's so impactful to get those skills as a child. All right, I am going to go to the second part then of my presentation, which is flipping my hats to now Farm to Cafeteria Canada. So Farm to Cafeteria Canada has partnered with the coalition to develop a school food map. Farm to Cafeteria Canada had a school food map before, but we have revamped it. Before, it was just one that schools could put on, and now we've made it so that community partners can get on there as well. And just added a number of other features. And so I'm going to share my screen and I'll walk you through that quickly. So this is the new map. I'll just show you that the green folks on this map are schools. The blue pointers are community partners. And you can do some filtering. So actually, I'm going to turn the schools off. And we do have a few community partners that are green. We're trying to work through the bugs right now, but you can look for any community partner. Actually, I'm going to take them all away that does food service, let's say, and then look for some in your region, or that supply local food, or that offer teaching or resources on food justice. And then if you go to them, you'll say, oh, look, Roots Community Food Center in Thunder Bay offers some community education, and you can then see a profile about them where, you know, we have their contact info and website and more information about them. And so the part of this is offering that filter tool and a way, for folks to get to know each other. And then at a school level, you know, if you're looking for a school that offers hydroponic systems and you want to get in touch with them, you can also look for them, or folks that have a food forest, which are becoming a bit more of interest and integrated on school grounds or community grounds, folks who are hosting local food fundraisers. And then we also have some things about meal programs. You know, we host a food box program. So there's that filter tool, and we also have made it so that the native lands filter with Indigenous territories is on there. And so we encourage everyone to get on the map right now. And I'm just gonna, if I can scroll up, sorry, I will walk people through, take 2 more minutes. If you or an organization or a school that you're connected with wants to get on the map, it's about a 5 or 10 minute process where you just say, you know, I'm a school or a community partner. In this case, I'll say community partner. I'm going to do an address search, and I'm not sure what address to use. 100 in Ottawa. What's there? Okay, let's say this. This is in area. So then you look at the point, it's going to give you this little bullseye. If that's your spot, you say capture point, you say confirm, and then it'll just walk you through a few questions, whether you're registering as a community partner or a school, your name, address, contact info to include on the map, share a little description, share what region you serve, what services you provide, if you offer them virtually or field trips in person. And then you can upload a logo and a photo. If you're a school, you would be sharing what activities you do, and then you give permission to share the info on the map, and you're done. So it should take 5 or 10 minutes. And then we will build kind of a whole network of people, and folks can contact each other and see the kind of momentum that's building. So that is that. Wanda, is there anything else you want me to touch on with that, or is it good?
No, I think that's awesome. I'm going to
Okay,
tell
great.
people that watch the recording to go to that section if they're really interested in the
Fantastic.
area school map.
Yeah, and you can share the link with them to them.
Awesome.
Great.
Yeah,
Thank
that's
you.
actually, I did not go through what you were saying about all the breakdown that they did and the overlapping regions. Amazing. That looks so cool.
Yeah, we're pretty excited. It'll be pretty marvelous to see all the points up here and everything that we can do with that data, and yeah, just filtering and searching for everybody. So we're excited.
and also for people to connect with each other. So
Exactly.
I missed what you said about if you have additional programs that you added, is it easy to edit what you've already put in?
Yeah, we haven't figured out the exact details of how it looks on our end, but I don't know if it exists right now. I think at this moment, folks can just send us an email and edit the info, and soon we'll have a thing where I think if folks search for something and the address is already there, it's going to guide people through a process to submit a ticket to us, and then we just approve it. But I'm going to write that on my notes of things to make sure our team has on their radar, because it's certainly been a process in the development phase, but I don't remember exactly where it's at right now. So, yeah.
Awesome.
Thanks.
Any questions for Carolyn about the map?
Yeah, I just typed one in, but I can ask really quickly, Carolyn.
Okay.
If you've got a program like our EcoCooks program is run in Calgary and Kelowna and Vancouver, would you have to like put in separate ones, say EcoCooks Calgary, EcoCooks Vancouver, or could you just put in EcoCooks and then put multiple points on the map?
No, we need a separate one for each at this point, but it is a great question that I could bring to the team. I don't know if it's possible to have a point, like a program with multiple points on the map, and to have it think of how to make sense. So no, you'd need different ones.
Put them in separate. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, we ran into kind of a big question too for like a national organization. Where do you put yourself, right? So, but yeah, have to specify, you basically have to specify one address and then build it around that.
Thank you so much, Carolyn.
Yeah, thanks. We'll also stay for Kevin's presentation. I'm pretty interested.